I'm back yet again. Wait a second. You might want to turn it back, restart it, and realize that this is a double week episode. This is episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. We released an episode on Monday. We're back again on Thursday, and here we go. Let's go. We're ready to go. We're dialed in. We got two people from the northern portion of the state of West Virginia, which will be joined here momentarily. But let's get the groundwork established. So you can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see behind me, I have the old retro Civic Center floors, the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center, as it now is called. But I like it. I like going a little retro look. I think my guest would agree with me as well. We'll get a little retro. Got the ball at half court as well. I like it. They need to bring that back. I don't know if they would, but I like it. But as I said, we're going to stay up north for this episode, for episode 94. And let's start here. Let's start on the boys basketball side. And we're pleased to be joined by Fairmont Senior's very own Zycheus Dobbs. Zycheus, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Now, another component for people that are watching on the video side is that Zycheus and I are wearing our overtime gear. Now, Zycheus did not tell me. I did not tell him either what I was wearing, but I saw he was wearing overtime. I said, this is going to be an overtime episode. I like it. Let's do it. So I got the baby blue. He's got the gray. We're styling. We're profiling. Please, paparazzi, you can stay off to the side. Is that right, Zycheus? You want to keep the paparazzi off to the side?
Yeah, keep him over there.
Absolutely. Well, how's everything been for you, my man?
It's been going well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the season so far. I mean, you guys are 13-1 so far. You guys had a loss to Logan on Monday evening. Tough loss, went down to the wire. Entertaining game all the way around as well. But let's start from a broad aspect. Let's start here. When you look at this year's team, being able to get a lot of action a season ago and to where this team's at now, where is this team at right now? 14 games into the season. Sectionals and regionals are right around the corner. Where is this Fairmont Senior team?
I think we're in a good spot overall. Our bigs are playing well, guards playing well, so I think we're in an overall good spot.
We'll talk about a couple of different people down the road, but this is fun because looking at what you all have done, you guys eclipsed the number one ranking this season for the first time this season, I should say, this week. And again, 13-1. I think one of the biggest aspects of you guys' season so far is that you guys are 8-1 away from home. So when you hear me say that number, that record, how important is it for you all to, whenever you guys do go on the road, to get those quality wins against quality opponents?
It's good just knowing that, obviously, if we make it down to Charleston, we're not going to have the home crowd that we usually have at home. So just knowing that we can play good away is a good feeling, and knowing, when we play away, we can get the dub.
So looking at the style of play for this year's team, you played alongside Jalen Johnson a season ago now, who is at Fairmont State. And now it seems like you've asserted the leadership role alongside Deshaun Good and Eric Smith as well. When you look at the three of you all together, I mean, you got yourself along with two big guys down low. How well do the three of you work so well together?
We work very well. We know with them, they got the height advantage. So throw it down low. If they don't double, they go to work. And if they double, then, I get to the open spot and they'll find us.
Now, whenever they do like an and one, you have to go up behind them and flex on them almost. Be like, that's what we do or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I've seen you guys play a few times, including Monday night's game. And you guys play a very interesting style of basketball. That is, you guys love to get up and down the court. You guys almost like to allow your opponents to play your brand of basketball, which is unique, and it's very difficult to do. But when you look at the style of play and looking at where you've been from last year to this year, how do you think you sort of, blossomed into Coach Retton's philosophy at Fairmont?
Just knowing he likes to push the ball a lot. So if a dude's open in front of me, I know to throw it up and not to keep dribbling because I might get it back if I keep running. So I feel like that's a good part of that offense.
Let's continue talking about Coach Retton, because Coach Retton's an interesting figure and he's a fun guy to watch as well on the sidelines. But when you look at the impact that he's had so early on in your career, how would you best characterize that relationship between you and Coach?
He cares about me a lot. He's always calling, checking up, see how I'm doing. So he cares about me a lot, and he's pushing me to become a better player. Always working out with me after practice to become a better version of me. So I thank him for that.
In what way does he push you? I mean, obviously, you just mentioned how he pushes you to get more shots up, more work in as well. But outside of that, you're a young guy as well in a system that's still relatively new. But I'm just curious, how does he continue to push you each and every day?
Just by encouraging me, if a shot doesn't fall, he's telling me to keep shooting because the next one might fall. So just encouraging me.
Let's talk about you a little bit, because I saw you during the fall, I think it was at Bridgeport at a Big Shots event. You put some muscle on, my man. I mean, you bulked up some. I mean, so tell us, from the moment you stepped into high school to now, muscle wise, where are you at? Are you where you want to be? Do you think you can go a little bit more? Walk us through that.
I think I'm at where I want to be right now. I don't want to get too big where I'm just bulky and slow. But I think I'm good where I'm at right now.
Are you on a strict diet?
Not really. Nah, not really.
The life of a high schooler.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear, my man. So, height wise, have you grown at all?
I think I have. Every time I'm around my brother Zion, I'm always trying to measure and to see where we're at. But I think I've grown a little bit.
Well, let's continue to talk about Zion, because Zion, played at Fairmont Senior. For people that don't know, Zion played at Fairmont Senior, went on to play at the Division I level. Now is back home at Fairmont State, playing for Coach Tim Koenig. Excuse me. But Zion, when you look at your relationship with your brother and where he's at in his basketball career, and you want to get to where he's at as well, playing at the college level as well, how big of a help has Zion been for you throughout these last few years?
Oh, he's been a huge help. He's played around with some talented dudes. He knows the game a lot. So even like after the game last night, the loss, he gave me some good advice, and I'm definitely going to take it into our next game.
Now, who wins in a one-on-one?
I mean, he might get me a little bit, but I think I can get him. I think I can get him.
You think your jump shot helps you?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, alongside your brother, your dad, he has a little bit of basketball experience as well. He coached you over at the Big Shots event as well, AAU as well, whenever you played. So, being able to not only have a brother that's very intelligent in the game of basketball, but also having a dad like that as well. Talk about that. How helpful has that been for you, alongside the help that you get from your brother?
It's very helpful. We're always talking basketball. He knows the game very well. He still loves the game. He plays it to this day. So just knowing that he knows what he's doing, and I can lean on someone if I need some help on the court, just knowing he's there for me.
What would you think the biggest piece of advice that your dad's given you would be?
He gave me a lot of advice. Probably I got to think about that.
I only ask the hard hitting questions, like
yeah. Probably just playing my game on the court, and don't get rattled. Just playing my game.
Let's focus more on your game, because again, you're only a sophomore, but still, you continue to turn heads. You continue to do what you do. As you just said, you continue to play your brand of basketball as well. But looking at where you were last season to this year, where do you think you've grown the most?
To be honest, I've probably grown the most being a leader, like on the court. I'm being more vocal this year than I have been the past couple years. Because last year I didn't really say much on the court, but this year I'm being more vocal in my game. So that's probably changed.
When did that light switch flip on for you that said, "Hey, I need to be more of a vocal leader. Let's try and be more of an influential person with my voice compared to my game"? When did that kind of turn on for you?
Probably at the beginning of the season, my coach sat down with me and talked to me. He said I was going to be a captain on the team and a leader. So I just took that in the role, and cause I know we lost some big leaders last year. So I know I had to take that role and embrace it.
When you look at the rest of the season, we'll get back to the team here in just a second, but when you look at your game and where you want it to go moving forward throughout the rest of this season and years later on, where do you think you need to continue to grow, to continue to gain college attention, to continue to gain momentum in regards to your game and your team's game?
Probably my mid-range jumper. I get to bucket pretty well, and I shoot the 3-ball pretty well. So my mid-range jumper would probably be that next step.
What kind of drills do you do? I mean, I know the old-fashioned way, in my opinion, that I learned whenever I would work on a jump shot is you put the ball on the chair and you go either way, and then you just work on a one dribble pull up. Is that still around?
Yeah, it's still around. Yeah, we still do that.
Okay, good. I didn't want to date myself, even though I'm only 22, but still technology and everything changes. So just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, it's still around.
So let's get back to this. Let's get back to your team so far. And again, you guys are having a great season so far, 13-1 this season. When you look at where this team needs to take that next step to continue this momentum that you guys are on, what would that need to be?
Probably cutting down on turnovers. You know, we had a lot of turnovers last night, a whole bunch. And that probably cost us the game. So just cutting down on those, I think would be good.
Do you think that game against Logan served as a wake-up call to seeing what other competition outside of, the northern portion of West Virginia is like?
For sure. They got some quick guards. Their bigs are pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely different. It was good to play against them, knowing like we'll be up against later during the season.
Does that almost excite you for what's to come in the rest of the season when you go up against a team like Logan, who's been the number one team for a few weeks?
Yeah, it definitely does, because we only lost by 8, so we know we can keep up with them, and it definitely does just excite me that we can. I know we can keep up with them.
So when you look at the Big Ten Conference this season, I mean, obviously you guys are the best team in regards to record wise. But when you look at the strength of this conference this year, how would you characterize it?
They're definitely deep. We got East Fairmont, Elkins. I know they're all ranked in the top 10. So yeah, we definitely got good comp this year.
A few more, and when you look at where you guys were last season and compared to where you guys are this year, you guys, started winning 13 of your first 14 following the early exit last year in the state tournament. But when you look at the attitude change in not only yourself but your team, have you sort of seen a shift in the mentality from not only you but the rest of your team following last year's outcome?
Yeah, for sure. Like even our coach, he said like last year every game's a scrimmage, and then just preparing for Charleston. But this year every game is like a game in Charleston and how we play it. So that's definitely a mentality change.
Go a little bit more deeper into that, because I think that's a very fascinating outlook in how people should prepare for that. So when you mention that every game needs to be treated like you're playing in Charleston, what does that mean to you whenever you hear a coach say that?
That we just got to leave it out the court. And it could be our last game. Never know. So just play as hard as you can.
Do you think with COVID still being around, you went through it last year as a freshman, and obviously we've dealt with some snow issues as well. Do you think that kind of set you all back a little bit, or is it just still been on a steady pace?
Yeah, it kind of has set us back, but it also set other teams back. So it's not just us. So it's everyone else.
So when you look at these other guys around you, so we mentioned Deshaun, we mentioned Eric, but let's sort of take them piece by piece, and we'll start with Deshaun. Deshaun's a fun player to watch. He has a lot of vertical leap in him as well, very athletic. But when you look at a guy like Deshaun, how fun is it to play with somebody like that?
Oh, it's very fun. On the court, if he makes a good play, he gets hype, and he gets all of us hype. So it's fun playing with him.
Now, do you guys try and mimic each other with trying to see who can get up the highest?
Yeah, we do sometimes in practice. Yeah, we try to see who can get up higher.
At least somebody can jump. I couldn't, unfortunately, but it's all good. I'm glad other people out there could, but that's good. So looking at down low now, I know that Deshaun's a post player, but he can also extend his game as well. But looking at Eric Smith, he's a big guy to deal with, and he's pretty much a matchup nightmare down low. When you know that you have somebody like that down low, do you just put more and more trust into him every time you feed him the ball?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like Eric, he's got a lot more coordinated. So if you throw it down, he's more likely going to finish because Ken don't really stop that. So yeah,
that's a really good point, because his footwork is it's almost like it's very flawless at some points. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
It's like a ballerina almost. Don't tell him I told him that, because I think he would probably hit me if I said it to him in his face. But hey, but so when you look at the rest of your guys as well, collectively, we've mentioned you, we've mentioned Deshaun, we've mentioned Eric, but outside of the three of you, who are some other players in this year's team that people should really be keeping an eye out on?
Definitely like Farrell Fields and Andre Grant, because Farrell, he comes off the bench and he can light it up for sure. He's definitely a top shooter in West Virginia. And then Andre, he's definitely like, his defending is crazy. We could put him on the other team's best player, and we'll lock him up.
When you look at the senior group, and we've mentioned Eric, you mentioned Farrell as well. How helpful have these seniors been for you this season?
Very helpful. They're fun to be around, to be honest. They make everything a good time, and it's just good to have them around.
And then I'll end on this note, sort of going off those lines, but again with a much broader look on the team. What makes this team gel so well together?
The fact that we all like to run, like that's kind of our play style. So, we like to get out and run, and since that's what coach wants us to do. That's what like brings us together.
I don't think I've ever heard that answer before in my life. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, "Yeah, I like to run." Hello.
Yeah.
Well, my man, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Best luck the rest of the way this season, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you. All right, see you.
Absolutely. That was Zycheus Dobbs from Fairmont Senior. And up next, we'll be joined by a North Marion girls basketball player as well, again, staying up north on this episode of episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. And welcome back into episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. We were just joined by Zycheus Dobbs from Fairmont Senior. But now let's flip to the girls basketball side. And we're pleased to be joined by North Marion's very own Olivia Toland. Olivia, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So how's everything been for you so far?
Everything's been great. The season's going really well for us. The 2 losses, we didn't plan on having, but everything else is going pretty good.
Well, we'll talk about the season here in just a second, but am I not mistaken? So wait, hold on. Let me connect the dots. I'm trying to picture this. You're a junior, and you guys are off to a great start, 17-2. But from what I've seen, you just scored your 1,000th career point. Am I correct when I say that?
Yep, you are correct.
Holy smokes. I mean, hello. 1,000 points and you're not even done with your junior season yet?
Yeah, that's always something I wanted to accomplish, and I worked really hard to get where I am today and to just be able to do that.
Now, do your wrists hurt? I asked that a lot to people that score a lot of points. Now, do your wrists hurt?
You'd honestly be surprised. Like after workouts, sometimes.
Well, I'm not surprised at the fact that it wouldn't happen just because you scored over 1,000 points. So, okay, that just blows my mind. It's taking you less than 3 seasons to do that. But I think another thing as well that I always ask people is, do you like carry your own fire extinguisher? Cause anytime you go to
oh my gosh,
home or away, anytime you light it up, you just gotta extinguish the nets. Does that happen?
I think I should start carrying one. Yeah.
Just know that I helped you. I nudged you in the right direction in regards to doing that. So I wanted to take credit for that. But
yeah, I'll give you credit for it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the season so far. So you guys are 17-2 this season, following a win Tuesday evening against Preston High School. And, you guys are now on a 2-game win streak following the loss to Fairmont Senior. Let's do this first. Take me back to that loss against Fairmont Senior first. You two are arguably the 2 best teams in Class AAA basketball on the girls' side. But when you look at that game, what can you take away from that and learn moving forward throughout the rest of the season?
That they are beatable, and we didn't go out and play the 100% best that we can. So just knowing that we'll probably more than likely see them in state this year, knowing that we have a good chance to go in there and beat them. We have a really good team, and they have a good team too, but our chances are just, after that game, we just felt more and more confident about our chances to beat them.
Now, do you sort of sense a fire within not only yourself, but your teammates as well, saying, okay, we only lost to this team by 10, so let's use this fire as motivation? Do you sort of sense that amongst your teammates?
Oh, for sure. Our practices since then, the intensity has been 100%, the whole practice, 110%. It's been insane. After that, like it lit a fire in everyone, like, guys, that we got this, we can do this, and we're going to go undefeated for the rest of the season. That's our goal, not to lose another game.
What's sort of been your message to a lot of these underclassmen as well? Because you're a veteran player just by the looks of your statistics, but from a mindset of an upperclassman, the advice that you've given to the underclassmen, what do you think these underclassmen have learned during this stretch?
I just think they get like so overwhelmed with like not with the hype around it, like all the news people being there, like who you're playing. But when you look at it, it's just a game. Like you're just going out to play basketball, but they just get so overwhelmed and get caught into it when you just like bring them down to reality. Like it's just a game. You've been here a million times. That's the same 3-pointer you've shot in practice 100 times. So it's just really like keeping them in check, but they've been great. I love all my underclassmen.
So looking at your team this year, I mean, I'm literally looking at your guys' schedule so far and the points that you guys have been putting up. It's unbelievable. 89, 94, 95, 90, 83, 77, 82, 96, 81, 95, and 89. I mean, good golly.
I mean, to comment on that, some of those easily could have been 100 points, but Parrish likes to keep that down. He doesn't really like to play the starters the fourth quarter. So there's been a couple times where we're like, come on, Parrish, let us. And he's like, no.
Good night. I would not want to play you all this season. I mean, okay, so you brought him up, so let's talk about him. Coach Mike Parrish, very successful head coach down at North Marion, has won a couple of titles with the Huskies, 4 to be exact. But when you look at the relationship between you and Coach Parrish again, you're becoming a veteran player. You're almost done with 3 years worth of high school basketball. But along this journey in high school, how much of an influence has Coach Parrish been on you?
I've known Parrish since I was a baby. He's been in my life since I started basketball in 3rd grade. And, just having him there by my side freshman year, it just felt like I was stepping into like home, like I've been dreaming about playing there. So when I got there freshman year, I was like, it just felt right because he's mentored me all through my basketball years. He's probably been at like every basketball game I've played in.
When you have somebody like that in your life that's not a blood relative, what does that mean for you?
He's just a really good influence on all the girls in practice, just having him there, knowing that he's always there to support me. And he was in middle school, he was at all of my games, he was really looking forward to me coming up there. So when I was a freshman and I started, I was like, I knew that he really has faith in me, and just all through my junior year, he hasn't let any of that faith out.
So let's talk a little bit about your game, because again, 1,000 points in close to 3 years is amazing to begin with. But besides the fact, I'm curious, when you look at your game, at where you were at the beginning of the season to now, where do you think you've improved the most?
I've definitely improved in my confidence. I've always been confident freshman year coming in. I was the most confident person, but just playing in more games, like freshman year, my first 5 games, we played against all top 5 teams, and making it to states freshman year, playing that game. I mean, that was just so much experience for me. Even coming into my sophomore year, like I've already seen it all, more than people will see their entire like basketball career. Freshman year, I saw it all.
When you look at the rest of the season, you guys have 2 more games left according to your schedule on the SSAC website. But looking at this last stretch of your junior season, because if you think about it, 2 games here to end the season, then sectionals or regionals begin, and then hopefully you all make states. But let's just take it from the end of the season to sectional play. How do you want to continue to see your game morph into what you ultimately want to become?
Definitely just do what I need to do. I mean, just winning's the goal. Like, it really doesn't matter to me how many points I score. If I could have 0 points and we win, and I'd be happy with that. So nothing really, just if we keep on winning and I know that I'm playing well, then that's fine with me. But if I'm playing bad and we're losing, that's when I know we'll have a problem. But I don't see that happening.
Let's go back to talking a little bit about this team. And it just seems like you all gel so well together. I mean, obviously, you guys would have to have something going down there at North Marion, because if not, you guys wouldn't be putting up the numbers like you guys have. But from an upperclassman's perspective and a veteran guard as well, when you look at how well this team is connected and what keeps everybody together, the glue, so to speak, what would that be?
It definitely just comes from playing in middle school. Mike gets on us from an early age. He comes to every Mannington game, every Fairview game. When you're in middle school, he's there. So like a lot of our girls, I've been playing with like half of our team since I was like 5. So we just know where each other's going to be on the court. Like we just know each other so well that when you put us out there, like you can tell, like you can just see a difference.
So I have a question for you. This is off the topic of basketball, but just looking through your Twitter page, I'm literally glued to what's in your bio, so to speak. And sometimes you'll see people put the location, like they'll say like Morgantown or Clarksburg or Fairmont or whatever. But no, my guest took a different approach to that. She said a gym near you.
Oh my gosh.
No, whoa. I like it. So it shows a little bit of swagger almost.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, there's got to be something, or is that just who you are?
Well, first of all, okay, my Twitter name Lives a Lefty. That's like every social media that I have. I came up with that in like 6th grade. I don't know how, but it's just like stuck. So I made that Twitter in like 6th grade, so no one could take my username. And I definitely put that in there in 6th grade too, because 6th grade me has the same swagger that I have now, for sure.
Well, I'm not dissing it or anything. I just think that's very clever, quite frankly. So I think props to you for thinking about that at such a young age. But,
yeah, I don't think anyone else has that in their
hey, I completely agree with you. But let's get back on the line of talking about this season, because again, you guys are having a tremendous season so far, 17-2 this season, 2-game win streak. When you look at what this team's potential could be, what would that be?
state champions all the way, 100%. Coming into the season, we knew we had a chance. We had a chance last year. My freshman year, we knew we were going to win it, but COVID and everything. And then last year, our loss, we knew we could have beat Nitro. We just didn't come out and play 100%. But this year, coming in, we have the same goal. We know we can win. We have the chance to win states every year, pretty much at North. We always have a good program. We always just have the same expectations for any of our teams.
What do you think it would take for this year's team to win states?
Just for every one of our players to play 100% every game, just to not even play 100%, just to give 100% effort and try on both ends of the court. And we could do it.
A couple more. And you had mentioned the COVID aspect going back to your freshman year. Last year was still 50-50-ish, but then states came around and fans were ultimately allowed back into the arena. But how great has it been just to be able to play in front of almost a full fan base almost at every game?
Nothing's ever going to be the same as it was. My freshman year, like every bleacher, we played Fairmont Senior. My first home game ever as a freshman was Fairmont Senior at home. It was literally standing room only. So, that's what I have pictured in my head. So it'll never really get back to that spot. But this year, it's just been head over heels better than last year. Having people come, it's just completely different, especially when you're playing at home. Like the energy that the fans bring, it's incredible.
Looking at the next chapter in either your basketball career or your academic career as well, because you are a junior and you're about to go into your senior season. And now, granted, you may not think about this quite yet, which is fine. But I'm curious, what would that next chapter be titled for you?
I'm not sure right now. I'm looking into a lot of different things. I've talked to coaches from D3 to D1, out of state and state. I'm just really looking for what option fits me best. But I am looking, and I'm just trying to get as many options as I can right now.
Academically, do you have an idea of what you would want to do?
I think I want to be a sideline sports broadcaster, but I'm also thinking about going into coaching. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe something I want to try.
Both quality fields. I can understand both. I could see it.
Definitely something around sports.
Oh, I could see it. I could see it. But okay, so let me ask you this. And I haven't done this recently, but I'll do it with you. And this is an exercise that I do with a lot of my guests that are like you, that are like juniors, seniors, whatever maybe, that are interested in the college basketball, environment, so to speak. So if I were a college coach approaching you and I said, what would we be getting out of you? What would you tell me in response?
Definitely. I feel like I'm an all around player. I play both ends of the court. Obviously I'm more known for offense, but defensively too, I just bring a lot of effort, and I'm not scared. Like, you can put me in there with the number one ranked, whoever, whatever, I don't care. I never go out scared. That's one of my biggest things. And my confidence, like, I feel like no one can really match that.
Well, Olivia, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and best of luck the rest of the way this season.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. So, with that being said, this will conclude this chapter of the high school sports section, but we have a special guest. This is a last-minute guest, and we'll be joined by Rector from Salem University up next here on episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. You won't want to miss it. And finally, welcome back into episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. We thought this would just be a high school episode. We went down another route. We added a late guest as well. Friend of the program, some would say friend of the program. Let's reintroduce Salem head basketball coach Brett Rector. Coach, welcome to the program.
Hey man, thanks for having me on episode 94. You've been getting after it.
You know, I try every once in a while, just the little things.
That's good stuff, man. It's all good.
So, Coach, let's start right here. You guys are on a 4-game win streak, 16-5 this season. When you look at it, give me a general report card. How would you grade this team so far through 21 games?
Yeah, I think if you back up, I got my first day here was July 1st. So if you would have told me we'd be sitting at 16-5 in my first year, I would have said you're crazy. I got to sign new players. We got to mesh the old players. I mean, just a lot, in year one. So I think we're in a great spot, and actually, my thought of the day for our team today was, rest at the end, not in the middle, and so we went on an 8-game win streak. We had a bad, night against Tiffin a couple of weeks ago where we slipped up. Didn't play very well on the road, but now we're back on a 4-game win streak. And I told him, hey, I know it's that time of year. Everybody's tired. Everybody's banged up, but we just got to figure this thing out, and finish well, because you're in the middle of doing something special. We have a chance to have a great year here, and we can't slip up at this point, so we got to finish this thing well, and I'm really pleased with where we're at.
You guys are 10-1 this season at home. What's been your guys' recipe for success at home?
I think number one, we've got really good players. And I was just looking again. I don't talk to our team much about it, but I think we're top 10 in the country in scoring offense. I think we're 9th in the country, or maybe 4th in the country in field goal percentage. We're making 12 threes a game at 43%, which both of those are top 5 in the country. So I think that in basketball, when you got a lot of guys that can make shots, it covers up a lot of other issues that you may have. And that's kind of what we've been able to do. I mean, against Virginia State the other night, we had 16 threes at 62%, so I mean, it's like you have those type of guys that can make shots. That's been, for us, the kind of saving grace.
Yeah, you're right. You're pretty much tied for 8th in Division II basketball, averaging 88.4 points per game. So needless to say, you guys are scoring at a high level.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because, we don't press. We don't press. I think if you go in Division II and look at, a lot of teams, whether it's West Liberty, Glenville State, or Nova Southeastern, I mean, these teams are pressing, creating a lot of turnovers, and getting a lot of shots, off their defense. Well, we don't turn people over that much, so it's kind of, it also makes it, for me, it's like, I don't know how we're scoring, that well, because we don't play at a, super high pace. But we just have really good players, really good shooters. We've executed, and I think I said it on the last podcast, I want to be efficient, and I think we've done a good job of trying to get, our best shot every time, our team's best shot, not necessarily a shot that I feel like I can personally make. It's our team's best shot every time.
So I mentioned to give the team a report card, but now take it from your level, do a little self-evaluation. How would you evaluate your first year as Salem's head coach?
Yeah, I think I'm really hard on myself. And I think, I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to improve. One of the hardest parts for me was we lost 3 games in a row by, one possession. We lost at Kentucky Wesleyan by 1, lost in overtime to Lake Erie by 3. And then we were up 10 or 12 on Virginia Union at home and ended up losing the game by 3 in Virginia. I mean, those are good teams, Virginia Union, especially this year, is really good. So after that game, I was I mean, I was struggling, because I just felt like I wasn't putting us in good enough spots. Maybe I wasn't subbing right, calling the right plays. We weren't practicing well enough, whatever those things were. So I just kind of use that as motivation to really kind of dig in and have those tough conversations with guys and really try to make us better, and I think we've responded to those losses and, kind of got on a roll here.
You mentioned those tough conversations. What kind of goes into that conversation with having that difficult conversation that, quite frankly, nobody wants to have?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I think we can do as head coaches is be truth tellers. I think we all need those people in our lives, whether it's you in your profession or me in mine. I have a group of people, that I'm close to that I know are going to look out for my best interest. And sometimes they tell me, hey, man, you shouldn't do this, or why'd you do that? And so that's what I try to do for those guys. It's not about being their friend. It's about making them better. And I think when they know that you care about them, they're going to be receptive to whatever it is that you're trying to tell them. And so for us, I think a lot of times it's kind of centered around, we just got to guard better. We got to rebound better. We got to practice better, and those are kind of the tough conversations we've had to have with guys.
I keep mentioning you guys' record, 16-5. You've mentioned it already, but where do you think this team needs to improve more to continue this pace of success that you guys are on so far, leading into the end of the season?
Yeah, I think for us, I tell them all the time, we can be an elite offensive team. We can get to the rim, we can make shots at all levels, and we have a lot of guys that can do that. But if you want to beat, the best teams, the national tournament type teams, we just have to commit to defense and rebounding a little more. And we've seen it in spurts. That's why I tell them I get frustrated, because you guys can be a good defensive team. You can be a good rebounding team, but sometimes we don't do it consistently enough. And I think that's where we still have to make a lot of strides. And I think we are. I think they're trying. But if you want to be a national tournament type team, those are the things that we have to do, for 40 minutes. You can't do them for 32.
Let's talk about a few of these players, and we'll start here with their leading scorer, Fonz Hale, averaging 22 points per game. When you look at his game, what's different about his game than, other stuff that you've been at as an assistant coach? What makes him so different?
Yeah, I think, and really it's, I'll kind of, for us, we have, Tobias Howard, Fonz Hale, and Rodney Smith. And so it's difficult for me sometimes because all three of those guys want the ball in their hands and they can all make plays and they can all shoot and they can all score. And so it's like, yeah, I get it. I could call a play for Fonz every time, but TJ is also really good. And so is Rodney Smith. And so it's, and I can just go down the line. So I have to sometimes balance that with those guys because they are such good scorers, shooters, and whatever. But the big thing for them is, with Fonz and TJ and Rod, can they, play together, play unselfish? Because at any point in time, they can just get the ball and go shoot it. Those guys are that talented of offensive players. So just getting them, hey, let's get a great shot instead of a good shot. We don't need to come down the first side and just shoot it. How about let's, reverse it a couple times and then it'll be easier for you. So just trying to get them to understand that and embrace that is probably been a little difficult for everybody, but it's also a good problem to have because those guys are good.
Another player, let's talk about Tobias, averaging 19 points, shooting 48% from behind the arc. When you look at his game, how is he so lethal in being able to create his own shots? You mentioned, he's one of those three guys on your team that just really wants the ball. But whenever you look at him, how is he able to create his own shot?
He is so versatile for us at this level because of his size. His basketball IQ is off the charts. He can probably go down there and run our practices. The guy's just really, really smart in terms of basketball stuff. And then we just we can move him around. We can play him at the 1, we can play him at the 2. He can drive it to the rim. He can hit mid-range shots. He can come off screens. He can catch and shoot. He's got deep range. So basically anything that you're looking at to say, what does this guy do well? He can kind of do it all, so that's kind of the thing for him is that, man, he's just so talented with the ball and without the ball, and he can think the game too. So really he's kind of the total package, especially offensively.
And finally, looking at your defense, you guys are only holding teams to 76 points, which seems like a lot, but at the same time, you guys are outscoring your teams by 13 points per game. So my question to you is, where is this defense now compared to where you were in game 1 or even the first 5 games of the season?
Yeah, we're better. We were watching we played Ohio Dominican, maybe 4th game of the year, a GMAC team that we played tonight. And we were looking at some of our, ball screen coverages and things we did. And I was like, what were we doing? So I do think that we've made strides in that area, but it's also something that we just gotta, stay diligent on and really kind of lock in the scouting reports and really try to get our principles down. And, I told our team we can be elite offensively. Why can't we be elite defensively? Let's do both. We don't have to be a one-dimensional team. And that's what we're striving for. We're trying to be, really good in both areas.
Well, Coach, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you once again, and best of luck the rest of the way this season.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. That will conclude episode 94 of Hoops Across the Mountain State with our 3 guests. Special thanks, everybody, for joining me. Thanks you for watching as well. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. And I'll catch you all next time on episode 95 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. Thank you all for listening, and stay safe.